Oh, yeah, that's me. Hello, welcome to the Reloading Podcast here in the Firearms Radio Network. Presented by Patriot Patch Company. Somebody's background noise. And Camerado. How's everybody tonight?
Good.
Doing pretty good.
Doing well.
Good.
Doing good.
What's everybody up to?
Well,
Taping and mudding is what all I've been doing for Nick.
Boring old wheel weights.
Coordinating a few events, getting ready for our women's weekend, getting ready for a new life adjustment, and also pulling all my reloading stuff out so I can figure out my workbench configuration. So basically, a shit show.
well, I'm taking a mental health break and I'm back home and working on some about 206 GT cases. All primer pockets have been cut, and now it's on to turning necks.
I just turned my neck for you. There you go. You're good.
Yep. So now I only got what 199 more to go.
Take one down.
Yep.
Oh.
Mike, I'm going to come on the channel again, but I'm not going on there with the second channel. I'm trying an experiment. I bought a second tablet.
Why don't you fix your computer?
It's a good question.
Anyway, I worked on doing a little bit of trying to organize a little bit so I can hopefully do some reloading, but I don't know. It's kind of hard because some of it's in there, some of it's in storage in totes, and some of it's here. So you still got a ways to go to get figured out. So
Yeah. Sounds like fun.
mm-mm.
You're like Sharenda trying to figure out where everything goes.
Yeah, at least hers is all in the same place, I think.
Ah,
It is.
you actually had to ship something out to a storage yard?
Yeah, it's where I got the boat. My dad's 16-foot pontoon boat that he bought brand new in '94. Still the original deck, still the original carpet, everything, because it never sat outside.
16-foot pontoon?
Hmm
That's
He bought it
short.
for fishing.
Yeah.
He didn't buy a party barge. He bought it for fishing. So he went with the pontoon because has a shallow draft, so he could get it places he couldn't get with a regular fishing boat.
So when's the last time you've been on it?
23.
Oh, hell no.
It didn't go out at all last year. So
Sounds like a weekend party up at Mike's.
Sounds good.
indeed.
Yep.
So
Kick it out. If it comes in, kick it out.
it's not in. So
Okay.
looks like Raggle Fraggle studies liquidating assets. I know that feeling. So but
Is that to buy a new gun though, or new reloading gear? Okay. I mean, that's the only reason you liquidate assets, if you got to buy something.
or you got to pay bills.
Yeah. Okay.
There you go. Andy's got it.
Well, Ragglefaggle's looking at a new house, so that's a good reason. Get a new place to set a bench up and everything else.
Yep.
Jim, how much wheel weights have you got sorted out now?
Oh, 3 buckets, maybe 2.5.
2.5 buckets of lead.
Yeah. No, 2.5 buckets of wheel weight sorted.
Okay.
How much weight? I don't know. And it looked like I'm going to pick up another 30 or 40 pounds.
Is it time to start turning the processor
No.
on and start the? No, not yet.
No, not yet. It'd be interesting to start shooting at 308 with lead bolts again.
Yeah.
I don't have a 7mm bolt. I have some 277 diameter bolts, but somebody cast them for me and I sized them up myself with A-locks. Made my own push shoe drive.
Okay.
Worked good.
Would you go 309 or 310?
No, the 308 is 308. The 270, the 277 diameter I made was for the 270.
Okay.
But those are just for contingency. I don't plan on shooting a lot of lead on it. Although I know I could. I just basically I gotta get my ass in the field and start shooting.
Yeah.
Got plenty of ammo.
You and me both.
Now that's frickin' genius, Andy. Andy79Z28 said I should build a bench on the boat. That way I can fish and load bullets while I'm waiting for the fish to bite.
Big hell of a podcast.
Well, isn't that like shooting fish in a barrel then?
Oh,
No, not really.
That's a groaner, Paul. Shame on you, you old goat, for taking advantage of something like that.
Yep.
See, this is the reason Paul's back home, right here. This is the entire reason he went back home. Because he couldn't do this when he was at his daughter's.
Yep.
What are you doing right now?
Yep.
Huh?
I don't blame you, Paul. Smoky treats are wonderful.
Yep. Yep.
So Running with Scissors said, "What up?" And then he said, "Paul, Sierra finally updated their website to include Grendel bolt gun data. Finally, prayers answered." Ha!
Yeah. Nice.
Doesn't
Nice.
mean I'm going to go out and buy a 6.5 Grendel bolt, but whatever.
Well, I could see one of them mini Howas in 6.5 Grendel.
Mm-hmm.
That would be interesting.
I almost came across a Howa in 22-250.
That would make a nice lightweight gun, or was it with the heavy barrel?
I think it was with the heavy barrel.
Okay. Still, that action is a nice little action. So, yeah. What happened? Someone glomp on it before you could?
No, it's one of the guys at work. He's got it, and he has a specific thing he wants to get. And so we were talking about trading.
Uh-huh.
But I said, if you've got something you really want to get, then just sell the gun and get what you want to get.
Okay.
So
Could be interesting. Okay.
yep. So yeah, that's
Yeah, that's a you know, that's a little interesting little gun. You know, even with a heavy barrel, that would make a nice little P-Dog gun.
mm-hmm.
You know, good brass is hard to come by because Lapua isn't making it anymore. But I've ran 100 pieces of Peterson 22 Creedmoor brass through a 22 250 die and made 22 250 out of it. So yeah,
How do you segregate those resized cases that you made into 22 250, Paul? How do you segregate them? The MTM ammo boxes?
yeah. Nice thing about Peterson, it comes every 50 rounds comes in a 50
Box
round
of its
ammo
own.
box.
Nice.
Yep,
Nice, nice.
nice plastic box. The same thing with Alpha Brass. It comes in a 100 round box, and you know they're all padded, individual. The necks aren't dinged up and everything else. So it's pretty nice to work with that kind of stuff.
Well, for what they're getting for brass these days, it's well worth it.
Yeah, when you're paying, you know, $130 for 100 pieces of brass, yeah, 130, you know, $1.30 a
Yeah.
piece.
Yep.
You know, so
Baby that brass. Baby that brass.
oh yeah, you know, and Peterson's just a little cheaper. They're about $108 or so for per hundred. So
Competition.
yeah, you know, but the nice thing about I with resizing the 22 Creedmoor to 22 250 is I can get small rifle primer brass and 22 Creedmoor, so that brings me into a small rifle primer for 22 250.
Do you like it better? Small
Um,
rifle primer in the pocket?
it get the brass is stronger then because
Right?
there's more meat around it. So yeah, I
Right,
kind
of
of like
course.
it. I kind of like it. Yes.
What I'm talking about, do you like it on downrange?
Uh huh. Yeah.
Okay. Is it better or is it about the same?
I can get more velocity out of the small rifle primers. Um,
Interesting.
case heads don't expand like large rifle will because of the more meat in there. So
Yeah, I agree.
I'm probably 50, maybe 75 feet faster that way.
Well, feet per second equals more range. More feet, more FPS equals more range, right?
Right. Yeah. And you know it is right on the edge, but I was pushing, and please, no one try this at home. 41 grains of 760 in 22 250 with a 55 grain with a large rifle primer, and I'm up to 42 grains with the reworked Peterson brass in with a small rifle primer. So, and both of those loads are hot.
Yep.
And if you're gonna use something, the 760 and 22 250, make sure you keep your ammo in a cooler before you bring it out because it's warm.
Just Just the opposite of the old sniper's trick, trying to get more velocity.
Oh, it's nothing, with just pressures. It's just 760 is kind of weird. If it gets hot, it will push pressures way high.
Absolutely.
Um, it is not one of those powders that that is able to withstand high temperatures and low temperatures. So
What grain bullet did you say you were shooting?
55 grain.
Okay.
Out of a 26-inch barrel, and it's close to it with the standard load. The 41 grains in a standard case is 3,600 feet per second. In a 22 Creedmoor, it's showing me almost 3,700 feet per second. So it works.
In case anybody's wondering what that noise is, Gracie's decided it's dinner time. So she's over there. She can't just eat her food out of the bowl or off the. Well, actually, she doesn't even have a bowl anymore. She's got a plate. She can't eat it off the plate. She actually has to flip it and then spread it all over the floor and then eat it.
Spud 76. Primer pockets on Peterson brass is tight, but not anywhere near as tight as Alpha brass. Alpha brass is really tight. So when I go to cut primer pockets on Peterson, it's not hard to do. But with Alpha brass, I actually have to put a little bit of lube on the primer pocket to get it to cut brass without drag.
Alrighty. So.
We have a pot stirrer in our midst from Alaska. I gave him his 1 second of fame.
He's not stirring anything.
No, Gracie is.
She's stirring the pot.
Well, he's stirring the pot with her.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Seating for one, huh?
Yep.
We're going to the local diner or what?
Yep.
Okay.
So when you do that, what you want to make sure you do is you make sure you get a booth. So you get that really big table to be able to put your stuff on. And plus, booths usually have a table that's anchored down. So when you C-clamp that press on, the table doesn't move on you.
Got it.
reloading in the diner, huh?
Yep. So. So Six Pack Project's got a question that we probably aren't going to cover, but does anyone else using the JBM bullet length list to cross-reference for seating depth?
Yeah.
So So,
Yeah,
um,
I still measure my bullets, but yes, especially if you use JBM run your checks for your twist rates and that kind of stuff.
Paul, when you measure your bullets, are you measuring nose to base, or are you measuring ogive to base?
Nose to base on those for your when you're trying to figure out if your twist rate's going to work, or for the stability calculator that they have. Um, Bullet length is important in that, and you'll find that um, bullets have been getting longer um, in
As
as the years have gone by.
how can they do that?
Well, they can do it. They change loading data in the books all the time.
No, but how can they change the bullet weight and how can they change the bullet length without affecting the bullet weight?
Oh,
You
by
know what I'm
change,
trying to get at,
yeah, they're changing where the ogive is. That's what
right?
that's what they're doing. They're pushing the ogive back and getting longer bullets.
hollow base.
Well, I
That
haven't
too.
seen that yet, but yeah,
Or going from a flat base to a boat tail.
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that'll
Yeah.
screw up, somebody that's just got a say like a 22-250 with the old style 1 in 14 twist. You put a boat tail on there, and that'll screw up a lot of bullets that won't shoot. They'll keyhole, wobble, and yeah.
Longer bullet, more bearing surface, potentially more
Longer.
stable bullet.
Right.
But you're finding by pushing the ogive back that they have actually shortened the bearing surface up.
Yeah, I can see that.
And if you throw a boat tail on there, you've definitely shortened the bearing surface again. So
Mm-hmm.
um, it's a double-edged sword there.
Well, when you stop and think about it, it might be a way of boosting sales of new guns, chambered and built for the longer bullet.
Sure. A lot of them are, you go to order a 2250 now, it'll come with a 1 in 10 or a 1 in 12 twist that allow it to stabilize a slightly heavier bullet. 1 in 10 will do a 75 grain bullet, stabilize that. Um, the 1 in 12 does the boat tail 55 grain bullets better. So yeah, if I'm seeding bullets, I'm gonna check what their length is, what my length is, compare it. Then I'm gonna check where the ogive is, so I kind of get an idea of where I'm gonna be, and um, it also helps if you're loading for a magazine, if you have to keep the bullet within the length of the magazine. So we're going to talk about um, bullet seeding, huh?
Yeah. Why is bullet seeding so important?
Why?
Hmm.
Well, if you don't seed it straight, you're gonna have problems because it's gonna actually engage part of the rifling before it engages the rest. If you seat it too long, you can actually jam a bullet into the gun, and if you don't shoot it, you pull back and you can dump a whole lot of powder in that gun, which isn't good. You seat it too long and it may not fit in your magazine. 308 is notorious for just being on the edge in a lot of magazines. It's 2.80 is what most of the magazines will take, and you go too long and it won't fit.
When they give you that overall length, and you say it's for a magazine, are they talking external mag or an internal box mag? Or is that one and the same?
Well, it could be one and the same, but most box mags are 2.8, 2.81, something like that. ACIS makes a kind of a longer mag that isn't as reinforced as their standard one, so you can get a little bit longer in there. But AR-10s, they're limited to 2.8.
Yeah.
So, and
Question
There's a
for
lot-
you again, Paul.
yeah,
Is that 2.8 figure based on 7.62 NATO?
yes. And
Wonder why they did that.
well,
I'm being a wise ass, Paul.
I know you're being a wise ass, but I'm just sitting there going, that's what they had. That's what they developed it. That's what they came up with. And but you can go do a custom load in a bolt action gun, and with an internal magazine, you might not be limited to that 2.8. You might be able to go bigger. How much depends upon what the magazine is, but if you look at most loading books and that, when you get into the 150 grain bullets and higher, they limit you to the 2.8.
Yep. I tend to think contingency reasons. I'm no prepper, but still, I always try to think in the direction of possible contingencies.
Yeah.
All that 308 ammo that's out there in this country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's lots of it out there. The same thing goes with 223 5.56.
Yes, sir.
And I'll even go farther. 30-06 is another one that can give you problems. And the other part about seating is where the ogive is and how close to the lands you are can make a difference in your seating depth. A gun that's got a short throat in it, you might be limited to a lot of bullet going into the case, taking up room. So there's lots of things to think about as far as seating depth goes, and then we get into bullet jump. What is the ideal bullet jump for the bullet that you're shooting in that gun? Is it 10 thousandths? Is it 20 thousandths? 15 thousandths? You know, 30, 40, 60? Depends upon each bullet and how the gun is going to handle it. So you got a lot of experimenting to do in seating the bullet as you developing a load for it. Some guns will shoot, with 30 thousandths jump in it, and another gun, same make, same model, may take a soft jam for it to shoot.
Explain what you mean by soft jam. Not everybody's familiar with what that is.
Okay, soft jam is where the bullet actually touches the rifling, but is not engraved in it. In other words, we're not engraving the bullet in the rifling. So we're just coming up and we're just touching the lands.
It's just a light kiss.
Yes. We're just getting there so we can touch the land. It's the bullet's going to be centered up in the barrel because of how it's touching the lands, and some guns just like that, and other bullets. Burgers are notorious for having needing a longer jump with their hybrid target bullets. That's where you kind of get a double ogive in there, in that bullet.
It's interesting. We already covered this exact topic from St. Louis Ammo Man. However, he loads 150 grain FMJ for his SCAR with no problems. He's going to go for the 168 grain bullets next. Does anyone have mag issues with 168 grain with a SCAR?
You won't have any mag issues. It'll handle bullets in the 175s, 178 grain range, up to there, as long as you seat them so they fit inside the magazine.
Yep.
Probably 2.8 inches or under.
Right. Yeah, that's where you have to go with it. I'm notorious. I measure my mags, and I have my M1A takes 2.82 in my magazines, so I can load out to there. So I load out to 2.81. And
Most of your precision loads are using the standard seating die, or are you using something like a universal seating die, the micrometer adjustment?
Depends. I mean, some competitors use a body die where you have to use an arbor press to seat, and others who are producing ammunition will use a die that has a sliding shoulder bullet sleeve that controls the bullet, and so anything to keep the case and the bullet lined up as the bullet enters that case. And
I know Nick and I
Go ahead.
Nick and I have had good luck with that Frankfurt Arsenal universal seating die.
Yeah, when you're loading that many different cartridges, a universal seating die like Frankfurt Arsenal really helps because it's sometimes very hard to get a die that is accurate enough to seat some of those older cartridges.
So
Yeah.
I was just wanting to comment to running with scissors. He said, had a buddy give me so much 308 brass, bought a 308 to run it in instead of making 7/8. All a man needs is a Cabela's Camo Savage Axis with a pencil barrel and a Weaver 3x9 scope combo. Ha. And I said, I originally typed, I hope you threw that Weaver scope in the trash. However, YouTube rejected your comment. This usually means they think it's spam. Try changing it a bit. So I changed it to, I hope you recycled that Weaver scope and put some different glass on it.
Face it, Michael, you're a smart ass. You are a smart ass.
Could be.
Yeah, we have to, kind of look at some of that stuff. Some of them old Weavers and that I could get along with. That was not a problem. The newer stuff, well, I don't know.
Somebody bought the name.
Yeah.
It's garbage. Tasco's better.
Tasco made a pretty good scope for a long time.
Yeah. Let's put it this way. NC Star's better.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Holy jeez.
Yeah.
That's a slam if I ever heard one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah. That gives you the Weavers are not very good scopes.
At one time they were up there at one time years ago.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
They
When
were,
when fixed powers ruled the world.
Yeah.
Definitely.
and the 2-7s that they made, they had steel bodies on them, which means they were heavy scopes, which was and good glass. Yeah, they were good. They were a good scope. The 4 powers were what kind of set the world on end. When you could go out with a your 30-06 or your 270 and go hunt anywhere in the world with a 4-power Weaver. We didn't get to be scope snobs until I would say the last 15 years or so.
Yeah.
I mean, we could all, they were always there, but how many of us were looking at a Smith and Bender, 20 years ago?
Nope.
20 years ago, you could buy a Smith and Bender for $800. Nowadays, what, $3,000? It's just like the old. Wish I would have bought all the HK91s and 93s that I saw back in 1980. For
Yep.
$800 a piece that are now going for $4,000 or $5,000.
Yep.
you know, where you can go out and get a 308 mag for you know, $1.50, or you know, $1.50, not 150, but $1.50. You could buy those G3 mags.
Yep.
Days are gone, but you know, that was the idea.
Or all of the moist nuggets that were $30 a piece
Mm-hmm.
back in the 90s.
I
So
paid 85 for mine, so that wasn't too bad.
the cheapest I ever bought one is 65 at Dick's, and I turned around and traded it for an Enfield. They
Not
wanted
much
it
of a
most,
step
I
up.
got it.
What
And then I
were
turned. I don't even remember what I traded the Enfield for.
what
It
were
was beat
go
up
ahead.
smelly. It was a horribly beat up smelly. So
um, K98s in the 80s, you know, were $90. You know,
yeah,
now what's a K98 going for?
1,000 minimum if it's decent.
About
And
there,
Mitch-
yeah.
even Mitchell's Mausers used to be able to, 200-300.
Guy was trying to sell one this weekend for $750, I think, from Mitchell.
But you know, we've had this thing called inflation, and it's really affected things. But back to seating bullets, and we're talking right now really just rifle. We haven't even gotten to pistol, and but you know, we have to start someplace, and so we start 10 or 15 thou off the lands, and you know, work our way back to see where that bullet that we're using shoots. That's what we do. No one says you're locked in a 308 at 2.8 inches. You know, it may shoot better with 2.75. You know, be 40 thou off the lands.
Yep.
You could wear a set of brass out by the time the different powder loads, different powders, the seating depths, before you find one that really works for your gun.
You can work through a barrel if you're,
Yeah.
know, depending upon how attentive you are into
Sorry, Allie. So with our seating depths, what if I want a single load
okay.
and and I may have missed this. I don't think I did, but why do I have an echo when I'm talking? Hang on a second here. I'm checking my settings to make sure. I don't know, weird. Whoever just muted, I think, got rid of it. Oh, it's probably because you got that second tablet, Jim. Still, I can't get rid of it. You got to get rid of it.
It's muted. Alright, I'll just drop out of the screen.
Yeah, because it's picking up. So,
It's off now. It's off screen.
okay. No, I'm still hearing it. Whatever.
It's alright.
Who cares? I think it won't show up anyway. So, if I want to single load my rifle
Okay.
and I want to seat it so it's soft, excuse me, try not to cough here. So it's soft touching. What's the easiest way to go about that? Should I cast the chamber into the rifling and measure that, or is there an easier way?
You can. There's three ways you can do it. Um, I would start with a Hornady or a Stony um, modified case and a rod in order to push the case and adjust the bullet into finding what soft jam is. Um, that's one way. Um, Another is to uh, put a small slice in the neck of a case, seat the bullet long, and use the bolt to push the case, close the bolt, and that'll give you where the um, the the lands will be, so you're getting jam. And the last one involves a case that is sized but expanded to just about to almost tight, but it has a little bit of movement in. Take a little bit of blue Loctite and put that around inside the mouth of the case. Slide the bullet in so it's long, and then go ahead and close the bolt on the gun, and that should give you. That's another way to give you where the ogive will be in a loaded case. Because we're working any way you're working on it, you're working from the ogive, because the ogive is going to be where um, bullet is going to touch the lands and grooves.
He's describing the pretty well perfect cartridge measuring gauge. Bullet seating gauge, if you want to call it that. Tommy Boy has put up a comment says, seatable with 1,000th constriction in the neck. In other words, almost loose bullet. And then load the round, then eject, measure and seat the bullet about 1 to 2 thousandths less than the measurement.
The hard part about that is, and it goes with any of them, except for the one where you are actually using the blue Loctite, is that if you push a little too hard, the bullet may stick in the bore, and
Right.
you're gonna get a little bit of engraving on that. The way to check that is a magic marker, red, green, blue, black. Go around the bullet and look for where the lands will connect with the bullet.
all this bullshitting we're talking about in a chamber, we're talking about a case with no primer, no powder.
You definitely. You know, when you cut the side of a case, the case mouth, you don't want to use that case for anything else, gentlemen.
Mm-mm.
You know, you destroyed a case. I wouldn't want to use the one with the blue Loctite either. And with the Hornady, you are using a modified case that has got the primer and the case head cut out and machined with threads on it. So
I've never threaded a primer pocket in my life.
Sure.
Nobody's saying a word. Nick and Ray, why was that truth? Do you think that's truth or lie?
Bullshit. Bullshit.
Mike remembers the night I had to thread the pocket of 7 cases in one evening. Because I was using the Lee white lube stuff. Ugh. That's when I decided to buy myself 16 ounces of pure lanolin. I was resizing machine gun brass.
yeah,
That'll do it.
Anyway, through thread primer pocket. I went up on tangent. Go ahead, Paul.
yeah, that's machine gun brass is some of the hardest stuff in the world to resize.
Mm-hmm.
I broke a 308 die resizing machine gun brass. So
You broke the die?
I split the die.
Even though I've not done that. I buy exclusively through machine gun brass. Why? Because it's cheap. Why? Because it's good and because it lasts a long time.
You can go on to places like Graf and Sons, and they will sell you primed 7.62 by 51 brass that is unfired, and it costs a little bit more, but you're getting a primer there, and you don't have to worry about it. Just take the depriming rod out, pin out, resize the case, and go from there. And you'll get brass that isn't stretched or has problems with it. And, it's one of the ways to go. Let's see. Come on.
Yeah, I was looking at Tommy Boy's comment, backing it off 1 to 2,000. That's pretty tight.
Yeah.
So when would I want to actually seriously consider doing that? Right from the jump? Or is that going to be something after I've done other things that I should consider looking at that?
Right after you've done the closest jump, you're going to look to see if you can do that.
Well, I mean, in my entire reloading process, my load development. When am I going to...
And after you've tested out your closest jump, you can go to a soft jam if you don't have any pressure signs.
So, like, while I'm doing my ladder loads, or what?
After you've fired your ladder loads, after you've checked for pressure signs, then you can go try out a soft jam next time around.
So once I theoretically have my powder charge, that I
Mhm.
want. Then I can
Yep.
start playing around with seating depth.
Yep.
So what should I do for seating depth from the start then when I'm doing it? Just magazine or whatever COAL is?
Yeah, you can you if you know where your jam is and you back off, say 10 thou,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and you start your ladder loads from there. And if you want to go to a soft jam, you can look at what your a you know a middle of the road um, load, and then you can slowly work up from that middle of the road load up and see what you get as far as um, accuracy for your um, soft jam. And some guns shoot soft jam very well.
What's going to be your first signs of you don't like that soft jam? Backing out primers?
I've never really had primers back out on me, and I'm a case head measurer. So if my case head expands more than a thou, I'm gonna back off from there.
Okay.
So um, I look at primers. Nowadays, primers can lie. They're pretty good at that. We in the early days we looked at primers and said, "Oh, the rounded edges are gone. We got flat primers. It's too high a pressure." Nowadays, primer could look perfect with round corners and everything else, and you could be way over pressure. For that case.
Right.
Again, using a small primer, where the large one you got more meat there, so it doesn't expand. And if I'm at 63 thou psi on a case, it's still gonna be okay because that's what it's rated at. Um, but we have to remember that you know all the load data and everything else that they're giving us is questionable because of what gun we're shooting it in. So
Yeah, boys. I'm just thinking the different
Yeah.
variables you could do. Same powder charge, same primer, same soft touch, and get different results, all depending on what case brand you use.
right. Jim, I just looked up Graf and Sons. They have Winchester 7.62 by 51, which is the new Lake City brass. 29.89 for 50, or 283.95 for 500, and that is primed.
That's a little more than 50 cents a case, which is typical these days.
Right. So, anybody got any questions on rifle?
No, you answered the ones that I was trying to get you to answer. So
Okay. Tommy Boy, seating depth actually works the exact same as a tuner brake or a tuner, yeah. You are adjusting the time in the barrel, and that affects the harmonics of the barrel. Yeah, That's true. Um, the only thing is that after I've found the load that I want, I do not chase the lands anymore. I will. I'm not going to sit there and say um, I've shot 1,000 rounds through it, and I'm going to push the bullet back, forward 10 thou or whatever it says. I won't chase the lands. Uh, it's not worth it. So next is handgun. Wow.
Why does handgun matter?
Oh well, handgun. You have other things that are involved, such as bullet pull, um, crimping, roll crimp or taper crimp. Um, Again, fitting the magazine, fitting the chamber of the gun. Um, yeah, there's lots of ways around with this one too. Um, Anybody that shoots a Magnum, you know, 357 and up, uh, if you got a crimping groove, you're going to use it to crimp the bullet in so you don't um, you don't get the bullet moving forward on you to where it could lock up a cylinder or lock the gun up somehow. Even on a semi-auto, a good taper crimp will keep the bullet from moving forward and giving you problems with feeding in the gun. Revolvers, you could tie up a cylinder without putting a crimp in it in a heavy load.
I've done it.
Yeah,
It's pretty easy to do with Ruger Blackhawk and 44 mag.
yeah, and you get into the bigger guns, it's even harder,
Yep.
to keep the bullet. And bullet pull is the reduction that you have in the case wall to compared to the diameter of the bullet itself. The heavier bullet pull you have in there, the less likely that the bullet will slide forward. So
And a tidbit to add to that, Paul. Shooters like me that like to shoot lead bullets out of my hard lead bullets on my gun.
Mhm.
Well, the hard lead has a lower coefficient of friction than jacket bullets.
Yep. Well, you've also
means
lubed
you-
them, right? I mean,
Yep,
they're sitting
absolutely.
there because you've put lube on them, so yeah, there's they're gonna
Gotta crimp the hell out of them is what you gotta do. You
Right.
gotta actually move metal.
right, and that's with any of them that are Magnum loads. Um, you don't want that to move. So,
That'll make a very bad day.
especially if you were in a position where you needed the gun to work, for sure.
Well, if that's the case, if you're in an environment like that, you better have your own factory ammo. But what we're talking about for the listeners out there is what happens is the bullets do exit, slide their way out of the case. But what's really happening is The cylinder is holding onto the brass, which is much harder than the lead, and it's pulling. The lead has inertia, more inertia than the case does. Case might weigh 1/3 what a 240, 300 grain bullet weighs. What we're doing is the inertia of the lead is causing the the brass cartridge case to gently slide back because the cylinder of the gun is recoiling.
And the inertia of the gun going backwards and the bullet is holding still at the time, and
Absolutely.
then going back, it wants to stay in that place. It
The inertia of the bullet is fighting against momentum of the gun. You're absolutely right, Paul.
So we have to overcome that, and the two ways is a heavy bullet pull on it, and a good crimp on there, and the best crimp come from cases that are all the same length. And this is the one time you're going to hear me say, if I was making up a bare defense load, that I would actually trim pistol cases. So they were all the same.
Absolutely.
You know, so, and I would hope to use, you know, once fired cases, and you know, as I did that. So, and one of the interesting things about pistols that a lot of people don't understand is that they will actually get shorter. They don't grow, they will actually get shorter the more you fire that case.
That makes sense because the forward wall of the magazine is recoiling into the nose of the bullet, thereby tamping it deeper into the case.
Right.
Poor Sharenda. She can't win. Now her internet's out. Good grief, poor girl.
What's wrong?
She lost her internet.
Oh. To answer your question, running with scissors until you start seeing splits in the mouth or with case wall splits. That's the typical life of a pistol or revolver case. Case mouth splits or wall splits.
Guess you could throw a case bulge in there too. You shoot loud through an unsupported chamber. But you could fix that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fixable. It's also not as common as it used to be. Huh. Anybody in the chat got any questions about seating? Kind of covered everything I wanted to talk about.
Bill, we've covered it all already. You missed it. You'll have to listen
Watch
to
it.
the listen or watch the show later.
Yep.
But if anybody's got any questions about seating, rifle, handguns, ask now.
Yes, indeed. Ask now.
You know,
That Cryptide Tommy Boy talks about sounds pretty interesting. I've never played with that one. Profile crimp and taper. There's a taper and a roll crimp at the same time.
yeah. But what that's doing is it's putting a taper on the case as it goes down, and then when it hits the point, it puts a roll crimp on it. And that's increasing the bullet pull and giving you a roll crimp. I find that with standard dies that I can sizing die, I can get a good bullet pull. Depending upon the die itself.
Right.
I saw that, Nick.
What? Oh yeah, the on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So Tommy Boy says, what do you find with primer types as to the effect? I guess we need more information on that question. Primer types is in like small rifle versus small rifle magnum, or brand, or
Well, I think he's talking brilliance in the primer, as far as some primers have more brilliance as it affects the load. But that's part of load testing. I mean,
and that's also affected by case fill percentage.
right.
Yeah, the power of each. I mean, the biggest thing is figuring out what your case fill is, going from there.
Yeah, if you're loading, in a 308 size case, 42, 44, 45 grains of powder, you're going to be fine with a standard large rifle primer. Getting into handguns, it can be a little iffy. Your large pistol is not the same as large rifle, so you can't compare the two. But small rifle and small pistol are basically the same size. And you can load rifle primers, small rifle primers, into some loads. And I have experience in loading some 135 grain 38 super bullets with Remington 7.5 primers, because the powder is slow, and I want the long burn to help the compensator work, because it'll generate more gases coming down the barrel. Yes. Mm-hmm. And again, that's loader beware. Test your loads out. There is some difference in brilliance between a pistol and and a
Rifle.
rifle primer. And the hardness is another thing that you have to watch out for. Some
Your
guns,
firing pin may not set it off.
yeah, or it may give you a hang fire. So
Running List says he has old accurate powder manuals that call for standard pistol primers instead of Magnum in 357. So for the number 9 powder charge, it was slightly more with regular primers. That's interesting. Maybe it ignited it slower and it built more pressure. So, because it would take longer to move the bullet. So that's the other thing you got to watch for with playing around with primers and case fill. If your case isn't full enough and you get a hot primer, instead of the ignition dribbling out, it goes shooting out. It can actually light the front, and it burns from the front to the back and creates an overpressure situation because the bullet never moves until it's too late.
interesting.
Big kaboom.
Yeah.
That's what they call it. Kaboom.
Polyfill is your friend.
Yes, it is.
Or grits or cornmeal, whatever you want to use.
Don't. So everybody quick, go to Joanne Fabrics before they go out of business.
There you
Before
go.
they shut down. I'm looking for
Just-
polyfill.
Grab an old pillow out of the guest rooms. It works just as fine.
Yes, it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it does.
Or your old stuffed animals.
The puppy dogs take those, and they you know, you can follow around with a vacuum cleaner, you know, with a clean bag in there, clean, you know, picking it all up.
Yeah, I don't buy stuffed animals with stuffing anymore because Gracie de-stuffs them.
Yeah.
So Tommy Boy is saying LC, which would be Lake City, actually did a test on this with a primer tube to light off the powder from the front. Didn't do anything but increase cost.
Well, I really don't know. Elmer
I'd have to
Keith-
see the full details on that test because that's on suspect. So,
Elmer Keith did a test, and his 285 OKH was set up to run a tube screwed into the primer, and wanted the powder charge to ignite from the front of the case backwards. So again, it's in his book. I can't remember which one right off the top of my head, but yeah, he did a test like that, and again, he was attached to the Arsenal at the time when he developed that one. So need to read up on that one, get the test on Lake City, what they thought too. But we're talking for Elmer, you know, we're talking oh man, you know, 80 years ago.
so
You know, young kids like me were reading all we could about Elmer shooting elk, you know, laying down with his 44 Magnum up against his leg, Creedmoring an elk.
Wouldn't powder type affect greatly where it was ignited, whether it be the front of the case or the back of the case? I mean, a faster burning powder, you'd probably, if it did burn from the front and back, you'd have better results than a slower powder.
Yeah, powder burn rate will definitely affect your outcome.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I'm gonna have to call it a night.
Good night, Jim.
Good night, Jim. We're just about to
Good
wrap it
night,
up.
everyone. Well, my last comment's gonna be don't forget to support the Second Amendment. Good night, all.
And then he said a lot of cannon shells use a front ignition. I have some howitzer shells that have a tube almost 3/4 of the way up the case. So I guess my first question would be, what type of cannons and what type of howitzers are you referring to? How old are they? Second part of that question is, what are they using for propellant? So
Most of that stuff is done with IMRs. You know, a 16-inch bag, you know, that they 100-pound bag of gunpowder that they use in the powder chunks are about yay big. Okay. And same thing with you know, artillery shells. The powder is, like I say, it's an IMR powder, which is means it's an extruded tubular powder, and it's coated with deterrents and everything else that give it the burn rate that it needs. So, and we're getting more and more away from using powder in a brass shell.
yeah,
You know, due to the fact it's easier to you know, to lay fire with a shell that can have you know, say an 8-inch gun has got a 10-pound bag, and you can put one or 1.5, depending upon, you know, using the smaller bags to give it the range and velocity that it needs. So.
yep. I want to take a minute to talk about Patriot Patch Company. Here's the lovely patch of the month for March. So you've got short-tempered, and of course, you know, March, St. Patrick's. So you've got your Irish themed. You got your patch here, your sticker here, and then this is Ryan's original drawing here. So part of the month, patch of the month club. It's always cool. I can't wait to see April's. I haven't seen the preview yet, so waiting to see that. I should be getting an email shortly on that one, so that'll be fun. You can join up by heading over to our website, which is firearmsradio.net/categories/podcasts/reloading-2. Or you can just go to firearmsradio.net, hit the drop-down menu, and go to Reloading Podcast. And then you can hit support the show, and you can choose to become a supporter by joining the loaded cartridge level, and that you get to become a Patch of the Month Club member. So we greatly thank all of our Patreons. Thank you very much for that. If you're looking to get some of the cool merch that we have, like the lovely t-shirts, mine's dirty so I didn't get it washed, but do have the tumblers and sweatshirts. You can head over to If you look on our page again, you click on the green Buy Our Merch button, and it'll take you over to Southern Gals Crafts, where they've got all of our shirts and everything listed. So we've got t-shirts and sweatshirts and the tumblers, and we've got can koozies. So yeah, swing over, check it out. So, and if you're looking for some fun camo, and yet it's still practical, head over to Camerado.com. Use coupon code RELOAD to get 5% off. All sorts of different stuff there, different types of outfits and stuff, different clothing and different camo patterns, and all sorts of fun with that. So make sure you check them out. And just want to once again thanks all of the people that support this podcast and have over the years. So we appreciate you greatly. Anybody got any shout outs?
No.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, and thank you all cast members for joining us. And on that note, keep your brass shiny.
Jump on the Mill Short Bus.
Teach them shoot and reload when they're young.
Grandpa told me, don't listen to your mama. Violence does solve problems.
And as Jim said earlier before he headed out, make sure you support the Second Amendment. Various ways to do that. You can anything from writing letters, emails, calls to your elected representatives, just paying attention to what's being submitted and letting them know whether it's something they should be supporting or not. Get involved with your local and state organizations, and get involved with some national organizations that are worth it. So, make sure you're supporting the groups that are bringing the lawsuits. Unfortunately, the way things are going, unless we can get some states fixed, we're going to wind up fighting this from the courts and not from the legislatures, unfortunately. So, but we got to keep fighting. And speaking of fighting, we want to make sure that we let everybody know to keep fighting the good fight. Make sure that you're taking care of yourselves. Keep an eye out for your friends and neighbors, and make sure that you're keeping an eye on their mental health. If something seems off, or they're starting to act a little different than they normally did, just be there for them. Obviously, you can't get somebody help who doesn't want help, but just kind of let them know. If you are somebody that is struggling, reach out. 988 from your cellular phone, or 1-800-273-8255 from a landline. Yes, people still have landlines. So actually, there's still payphones out there somewhere.
Really?
Yeah. I wouldn't want to try to use one because it'd be expensive, but yeah, reach out. 988 or 1-800-273-8255. Reach out, get some help. Keep fighting. If you're just kind of looking and you're struggling a little bit, Walk the Talk America is a good place to go to get some guidance for resources and stuff. So help's out there, and it's getting more prevalent every day. So hang in there, keep fighting the good fight. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Right.